Hey guys, so here's part 2 of the Halloween costume, and this one's going to be a lot harder than the first one, so replay it as many times as you need. So what I used for this part of my costume is a flesh tone mesh, a green fabric, interfacing, bra padding, pins, scissors, and my patterns. Using my patterns, I just cut out the pieces I needed. For the skirt, I'll need 4 pieces, and everything else except for the mesh, I used 2. Now taking the interfacing, I'm just going to iron it on to the wrong side of the fabric, and only for the pieces that are going to be used for the top of the bodice. Now that I have the interfacing attached, I will go ahead and sew up the side seam. Using my pattern, I'll mark where the beginning of the dart starts and then draw a line connecting it to the very end, and then sewing along that line. Then I just repeated it for each dart on the bodice. I drew a line for the halfway point on the back of the bodice. That I'll be cutting to insert a zipper. With the right sides of the fabric facing each other, I pinned together both sides of the bodice and sewed about 1/4 of an inch from the edge, making sure that I snipped any curves so that it would lay flat. After sewing it, I flipped it inside out and then sewed about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, or as close to the edge as I could get. Next, I attached the mesh to the front of the bodice, making sure that I pulled it a little bit so that it would keep its shape. Here I have attached the zipper face down on the right side of the fabric, and then sewed a line going straight across, and then repeated it for the next side. Once I did that, I folded it over and then did a top stitch to hold it in place. Now I'm just taking the bra padding that I trimmed down a little bit and putting it in between the 2 layers of the bodice. Moving on to the bottom of the dress, I pinned it together and sewed about 1/4 of an inch from the edge. Then I folded it over again and sewed about 1/2 an inch from the edge. Now I just pinned and then sewed the bottom piece of the dress to the bodice. Here I'm just marking where I want my split to stop at. Now I'm just folding over and then sewing the split in place. Finally, I just folded over and then sewed the mesh.